introducing Roy Reiki, I just wanted to give you a bit of an insight into his personally progressive nature and the colour that he brings to the community through a couple of letters to the editor that he's written and that have been published, one recently, that agitates for a food fight with Annabelle Crabb. And then another one which cautions against Howard heading up the ICC a little while in the past, because you may end up with Abbott as your fitness coach, and you certainly don't want to end up with a team of budgie smugglers doing that. So Roy particularly embodies, I think, what a lot of people have spoken about today and what attracted me to the law, and that is making a positive contribution to the community in which we all live. And I'll leave you to read his professional biography in the program, but his life as a lawyer has centred around community legal centres and providing access to justice, particularly for those who are most disadvantaged in the community. So without further ado, Roy Reiki.
Thank you. So we're just doing some technology here. Thank you, that's great. Yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity to meet with you today and to think with you and to work with you. I also very much appreciate the honour of sharing this session with the representatives from the Law School Reform Committee. I found their presentation really inspiring, and I wish, having done my law school training many years ago, that there was that opportunity and it wasn't just left to a couple of individuals to explore the same ideas. So I really honour and recognise the work you're doing. Also very much appreciate the reference to Kafka, who a lovely link, because that's essentially what I'm talking about, is Franz Kafka. I'd also like to express my joy at sharing the session with my friend Helen McGowan. Helen and I have a CLC, or Legal Centre history, and a friendship that we've maintained over the years, and it's great to renew that friendship today and hopefully beyond today. And I appreciate 20 minutes in a very busy day for you and for me of clear air in which I can spout my opinions. And today I'm spouting my opinions on the role of lawyers within the legal system and the possibilities and responsibilities that we all have as lawyers, as privileged intellectuals in our society, to take on a broader role than the legal system allows and demands. And in many ways, my presentation is your light relief for the afternoon, in that I'm going to tell you a story, not one of my own, thankfully, but one of Franz Kafka's. So I've enlisted his support. I'm assuming that most people... I'm assuming that most people here today know of Franz Kafka, perhaps who he was and what he did, but I'm going to tell you anyway. He is a long dead Czech author and lawyer. He's one of my lifelong friends. I got to know him when I was a youngish boy, much younger than I am now. And he's inspired me along the way and continues to inspire me. He wrote 3 novellas, The Trial, The Castle and America, and a myriad of short stories and parables, some very short, but all of them are very challenging and thought-provoking. He died of tuberculosis in 1924 at the age of 41, having only published 7 stories in his lifetime. Kafka's most famous story is a story about a man who arguably was a lawyer working in private practice, who woke up one morning to discover that he'd turned into a giant bug. And the story explores his reaction and his family's reaction to his predicament and what becomes a life-changing, literally life-changing experience. It's very much worth a read if anyone hasn't come across Metamorphosis, Franz Kafka's story about the man who becomes a bug. This is kind of verging towards book club, but I'll get to the lawyerly stuff soon. I wanted to give you a reading list for curious lawyers from Franz Kafka. I can recommend his first 2 novellas, The Trial, and even better than The Trial is a novella called The Castle, not the Australian movie, but Franz Kafka's original The Castle, and his short stories In a Penal Colony, The Judgment, The Problem with Our Laws, which is an obvious one if you can get it, and a play called The Warden of the Tomb, among many others. But the Kafka piece that, in my opinion, speaks most to lawyers and to the legal system is one that inspired me to become a lawyer in the first place and has guided me in how to behave as a lawyer. Indeed, it's inspired this presentation and the presentations based around it, so bear with me. It's only 300 words, and it's called, oh, I had it before the Law, which I do have here. Oops. Copies if anyone wants to take it away. Does anyone here know this story, Before the Law? No? Okay. I'll do my best to paraphrase it, and then I'll get to the point. Before the Law tells the story of an ordinary citizen who has got a problem that requires the intervention or the intercession of the legal system, of the law. He trudges from his village below up a hill towards the imposing stone walls of a castle in the direction along the road of a large open portal framed by solid wooden doors with studded metal bolts. So you're getting the picture? Fairly gothic. The castle walls loom as he gets closer and closer, but the large wooden doors remain open and they provide a glimpse of a cobblestone paved path that leads further up into the castle of the law. This citizen gets closer and closer, but in front of the doorway before the law stands the doorkeeper. This man is wearing a heavy woolen greatcoat, leather boots, a high fur hat. He's almost 7 foot tall, and he's got shoulders of maybe 5 foot wide. He looks very stern and very powerful, and he holds an ornate spear with a sharp tip that glints in the sun. So you're still with me? Got the picture in front of the castle? Very stern doorkeeper. The citizen explains to the doorkeeper that he needs to access the law to solve his problem, and he steps forward to enter the castle, and the doorkeeper steps into his path, blocks his path, makes it clear that he can't allow the man to pass. So the citizen pleads his case to the doorkeeper and how urgent it is and what will happen if he doesn't get a resolution, but to no avail. And the doorkeeper consistently answers all pleas with a refusal, with a flat no. The citizen's exasperated by this stage and asks the doorkeeper whether he might be allowed to enter the law later. And the doorkeeper says, it is possible, but not at the moment. So the citizen waits, and he regularly asks the same question, can I enter? And the doorkeeper always says the same thing, it's possible, but not at the moment. So over days and weeks, the citizen waits, and he becomes more and more desperate and more exasperated. He becomes frustrated, he becomes a bit feisty and sort of foolishly aggressive. He kicks at the shins of the doorkeeper, and he tugs at his beard, and he hangs off his coat lapels. But the doorkeeper is steadfast, he's implacable, he's immovable. He's still standing to one side of the doorway, but he makes it clear to the citizen that the citizen would need to overpower him to gain access to the law, to get into the castle. So the citizen makes a dash for it, and the doorkeeper's spear comes down like a boom gate to block his path. And the doorkeeper says in a very measured but a booming voice, I can see that you're drawn to it, and you want to try despite my veto, but take note, I'm powerful, and I'm only the least of the doorkeepers. From hall to hall, from door to door, there is one doorkeeper after another, each more powerful than the last. And then the doorkeeper bends to speak a little more intimately to the citizen and says, the third doorkeeper is already so terrible that even I can't bear to look at him. So the citizen slumps onto a stone bench, and he waits, and he waits, and he thinks. And he sits there for months and for years, and he continues his quest to access the law. The doorkeeper never leaves his post, and the citizen never leaves his vigil. It was a bit like maybe an early version of Occupy Prague, if you like. The citizen tries every angle, every trick to gain admittance to the law. He even tries bribing the doorkeeper, who accepts every bribe, saying, I'm only taking this from you to keep you thinking that you've omitted anything, but you haven't tried absolutely everything.